So we're going to be talking about habits again today. Today's topic is why creating new habits is so freaking hard and what to do about it. Creating new habits is extremely difficult for the very reason that stopping bad habits is extremely difficult. They go hand in hand. So we start doing bad habits, meaning unhealthy things, unhealthy actions, unhealthy behaviors that we do that we feel like make our life better, but they're not bad habits. It doesn't matter what the habit is. If it is unhealthy, it's unhealthy. That could mean eating too much of healthy food, right? Too much exercise. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a negative thing that you're doing. A bad habit is a bad habit. So anything in extreme can be a bad habit. But why is it so difficult to create new habits? First, so if you've followed along on the journey, you have some tools that I talked about last week, and that is identifying who dropped those seeds in your brain, right, along the way, along your developmental way, who dropped those seeds and how they've grown and how they are impacting your life right now. So along the way in our development, we start to do things along the way as we are developing, growing up. We are given seeds of things that are not so great, and we develop habits of ways to self-soothe, to deflect, to handle, to cope with the bad seeds. So bad habits come from a lot of places, and even though they're not benefiting you in a healthy way, they are benefiting you, which is why you keep doing them. So for instance, for an example of that could be emotional eating. I stick to this one just because it's an easy one for people to understand. People who eat food when they are emotionally heightened, that is a way for you to give yourself an emotional hug. So somewhere along the way in your life, somebody else comforted you with food, or you somehow learned to feel better when you were overeating. So that's where that bad habit comes from. And even though you know that it's not healthy for you to keep doing, it feels good. It feels good to get that emotional hug when you're in pain. So creating a new habit to replace the bad habit is difficult because the new habit is scary. You don't know what it feels like over there across the street. You know what it feels like to continue to go down the path of your bad habits. But a good way and a recommended way, and when I work with clients in group or one-on-one times, I always recommend that they replace a bad habit with a healthy habit. Step number one for creating a new habit while replacing a bad habit is to be aware of your thoughts. So you want to be aware of what you're thinking before you even go and do the action. So paying attention to the triggers, what is happening externally that triggers your thought that you want to go and do that action that's unhealthy. So once you have that clear path understood and you're aware of it, then you can start to change it. So if you're aware of, let's stick to the emotional eating, the emotional hug. If you know that when your mother calls you, or I say mother because people like to just, it's significant, whatever. You know that when your mother calls you, you end up feeling in a frenzied state. And you can add anybody in there for mother. You don't have to, I'm not picking on people's moms, but you know that you're going to end up in a heightened state. So you know that when you see that her name on the caller ID, you pick up the phone, you're like, hey mom, and you're walking right to the refrigerator because you're looking for that emotional hug because you're feeling a certain way inside and you need to self-soothe. So that's understanding the trigger, the habit, the action, the thoughts that all contribute to a bad habit. It's crucial that you understand that pathway before you're going to be able to create new habits, because creating something new, again, is extremely scary. You don't know what that feels like. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's on the other side of the road until you get there. So I'll speak of myself. So my plan for myself was to go food shopping, to meal prep, to stick to my meal plan, and to exercise regularly. It was just time for me to get my head out of my ass and start really upping my self-care. So I had a rocky start. I talked myself out of exercising. I talked myself into eating a piece of carrot cake last week. But is it the end of the world? No, it's not. Because the beautiful thing is every day when you wake up, you get to start over. It's a reset. However, it's not a reset to what's in here, because what's in here stays in here. Until you get rid of that, it stays in there. Step 1 is understanding the external trigger. Step 2 is understanding what's going on in here, your thoughts, your heightened emotions, your internal state, then the behavior and what the action is and why you're doing it. You must understand that. And for anyone who might remember last week, I shared a story about my grandmother. If you want to start anything new, any new habits, start small, because when you have micro wins and micro achievements, that is going to determine a greater sense of success than if you go way too big. Recently, I was talking to one of my private clients, and we've been working together for a little while, and it's never my goal or purpose or intent to make anyone feel shameful or like they have to check in with me, or I'm going to feel a certain way if they don't accomplish what they set out to accomplish. I don't own anybody's path to success. I own my role in it, and clearly explaining what I mean, clearly taking you through the steps, clearly taking you through the process. I own that part. So first time meeting with my private client, they wanted to do these 3 things, and they were huge things. That's like saying you want to take up hiking and tomorrow you're going to climb Mount Everest. It ain't freaking going to happen. It's not going to happen. Go big or go home has no place when it comes to breaking bad habits and creating new habits and making it sustainable. So after they were done talking, probably about 3-4 minutes, I said, absolutely not. You're not doing any of that stuff. Get it, throw it away, rip that thing out of your paper, knock it off. You're not going to do any of that stuff. You're not going to do any of that stuff because you're not even doing a fraction of any of that stuff right now. Those goals are way too big. We're not going to start there. One of the goals was to join a new gym membership. They didn't like how they were physically feeling. They didn't like how they were physically looking. So they wanted to lose weight. They wanted to get toned. They wanted to feel like they were in shape. They wanted to just feel healthy. They didn't want to walk through the food store getting winded because they can't walk around the food store and push a cart because they're so sedentary in their job. And they've told me, I don't know, that they've gained quite a bit of weight over the past 2 years. I said, absolutely not. You're not joining a gym. First of all, it's going to be a waste of money. Second of all, you're not going to go. Third of all, you're going to go to sleep every single day with self-defeating thoughts. You're going to bash yourself with shame. You're going to bash yourself with guilt. And you're going to wake up the next morning feeling like complete shit because you did not do any of your goals the day before because you set your goals too big. So we broke that down. We broke that down into tiny little steps that they were going to do every single day. Now this was probably about a month ago, and they were going to food shop, they were going to meal prep, and they were going to do 10 minutes of movement 3 times a day. I didn't care if they walked up and down the stairs for 10 minutes, walked up and down their hallway for 10 minutes, walked around the office building for 10 minutes. They were going to do something for 10 minutes 3 times a day to work up for that. So here we are 4 weeks later, and do you think that they've done any of that stuff? Nope, they haven't. And they felt really bad about coming back and reporting that they haven't achieved any of their goals. And that it wasn't until I was able to help this person identify where those seeds came from, the seeds of shame and guilt for not achieving, where those seeds came from. They came from growing up. And I also framed it in a way for them to not feel bad about acknowledging that this is what they got from their home life while they were growing up. Again, not ill-intended. I don't think it was purposeful. It is how the adults that raised this person functioned, probably from how their parents functioned. Things get passed down even though they're not healthy. So once that was reinforced, once they were able to understand where the seed came from, their thoughts, actions, and behaviors, and everything that was contributing to it. And they have a pretty stressful circumstances right now that has really increased their emotional hug with food. So they feel like they've been even more sluggish because they're eating food that is too complex for their body to break down, and it's not really giving them all that fuel. Once they were able to, again, because this is nothing new, we talked about this back in November when I first met with them, but reinforcing this and reinforcing for them that I am not sitting in a place of judgment. It's not my job, it's not my role, and it's just not even something that I would ever consider doing anyways. They were, however, able to go out outside the house. And because it was the holidays, they were doing Christmas shopping and stuff like that. They were able to go outside the house and do some walking inside, like at the malls. And another thing that they were able to do is they added, rather than doing one big food shopping, they added 3 small food shoppings during the week. So they're out walking in the food store 3 times a week. That's huge. That is so much more than what they were doing before. But they didn't recognize that because they hadn't stuck to their plan that they set 4 weeks prior. So sometimes you are doing something, it's just not exactly what you set out to do. So when you have seeds of doubt that come in, seeds of whatever label you want to put on them, when you have those rolling through your head, those transfer to online business as well. So if you set out, you've met with your coaches, you've met with your accountability group, you've met with whatever, you've watched the course, you've watched a YouTube, like however you've done it, you have watched something, you've talked to someone, you've developed a daily plan. So you wake up every morning, you're like, yes, I'm gonna do my daily plan. I really want this online business for whatever your reasons are. You wake up with great intentions that you're gonna do that day. And then maybe you don't. Maybe you do some of it, maybe you don't do any of it. But why? It's for the same reasons, because what you're trying to achieve is that thing over there across the road that you don't know what it feels like. You don't know what the other side of the road looks like, what it feels like. You don't know that because you've been walking on this side of the road. So everything that is mindset related is intersected, personal and professional. There is no one or the other. The actions could be personal, the actions could be professional, but the way that you think about it, the way that you get in your own way, the way that you stay stuck doing things as you've always done them, that's there regardless of what task you're trying to do. So if you want to start something new, it has to be small. Think small, because small achievable goals, one, can be broken up throughout the day. So say for instance, most people that are trying to build an online business tend to do the same things. You tend to, if you're doing written content, you tend to do a piece of written content. If you have a group already, maybe you do something on your profile, business page, inside your group, maybe all 3 in one day, same piece of content rotation, whatever it might be. If you're doing videos, you're creating a set number of videos every single day, maybe reaching out and having conversations with people that have liked your videos or come into your group or followed you on your profile or whatever. Those are all important business building tasks. However, the number one best habit out of all of those for you to get into every single day is having conversations with the people that are already in your ecosystem. If that's the only thing that you feel like you're able to do that day, because not sending out an email or not creating a content post, now that's okay. Maybe even pop on a short one of those cool little colored posts that captures people's attention. Maybe that's a great opportunity for you to build in the new habit of sharing a part of what's going on with you. Like for instance, today, my back is killing me. So for me to be sitting, I feel like someone's behind me with a hot poker and it's just digging into my lower back. So I'm extremely uncomfortable today sitting here, and I don't have an option. There's no other place for me to sit or whatever. So maybe in your new habit of trying to get to the point where you complete everything on your daily plan, you do just one thing, and it's the one most important thing. Because if you do nothing, you're going to beat yourself up the next day. You're going to have a lot of negative self-talk. You're going to have your limiting beliefs are going to pop back up. Your imposter syndrome is going to pop back up. Your sense of failure is going to pop back up, and your shame, your guilt, all of that stuff is going to pop back up. And another big one too is people that work with coaches, they feel like another layer of this is they feel like if they don't get their stuff done, their coach is going to be disappointed with them. Let me tell you this, if you're working with a coach that leaves you feeling that you're disappointing them, get the hell out of there. That is not a coach's job. It's not. Actually, nobody should be making you feel that way. But if you're paying to work with someone and they are making you feel guilty for not doing things, first of all, they're not skilled enough to work with you. Because if you're not able to accomplish your tasks, again, it is important to understand why. It's important to understand and why. What were the external triggers? What was going on inside? What led you to, my dog is unmaking my bed. She'll unmake my bed and then she'll jump off and she'll go downstairs. And then I have no bed that's made. I don't understand. So yes, if you are working with a coach and paying them money and they are making you feel bad about not accomplishing things, run for the door. That is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And you know how I know it's not acceptable? I have been doing this for over 20 years. It is a coach's job to help you understand what is getting in the way of you accomplishing your goals. It is not their job to verbally bash you or verbally shame you or tell you to just do it. What? When does just do it work? It doesn't. Even in the best intentions, telling someone to just do it doesn't work. Telling someone if you can't complete everything on your task for that day, what is the number one most important thing that you can accomplish? What is the number one most important? Give someone the opportunity to have a bad day, to just not be feeling great. Maybe the seeds are starting to grow crops in your head and you're stuck in all of those limiting beliefs and shame and guilt and the past and this and that and what this person said and what that person said, how you feel. Like maybe that's a day. So maybe that's a day where you need to take off and go to the beach. Maybe that's a day where you need to go mudding. I'm watching Suits on Peacock, so one of the lawyers goes mudding. Maybe that's a day where you watch Netflix. Maybe that's a day that you get together with friends. Like maybe that's a day that you just can't social media. But what's the one thing that you can do that day that takes you a minimal amount of time but gives you a sense of accomplishment? The one thing. That's a coach's job, is to be able to help you with that. I have heard so many horrible things that coaches have said to people, and it makes me wonder why people get into that sort of, it makes me wonder why people get into a lot of professions, because I think like shitty people are just shitty people. It doesn't really matter what they do for a job. They're just shitty people. And the more person has a sense of authority, makes them shittier. That's just my experience. Whereas someone who's kind and compassionate and has the skills, they leave you feeling, wow, she really gets me, or he really gets me. They really understand. Your coach doesn't necessarily have to have gone through what you're experiencing to understand the difficulties, because working with people, you get to understand the difficulties. I really want to make this about you right now specifically. Let me know in the comments, what is one new habit that you would like to start doing on a regular basis? Let me know if you want to do it daily. Let me know if you want to do it weekly. Let me know if you want to do it 3 times a week. What is one new habit that you want to work on making part of your daily life? Okay, go. And I'll help you build it in. And also, I'll talk about maybe some things that are getting in the way to stop you from doing that. So if you're interested, having a plan, having your shoes set out, having your recovery drink set out, having your water bottle ready to go, or having your headphones right where your keys are, like the more you can set yourself up the night before as if you're going to get up and go now, the more you can set yourself up with, you're actually already doing it, the chances are there's a greater possibility that you're actually going to get up and do it. Right? So yeah, try those couple of things and let me know how it's going. I have discovered something about myself. When I am busy, I am much more efficient. When I have less time, so this proves to me that the saying is right. If you give yourself 4 hours, it's going to take you 4 hours to do it. A bunch of new ones too. So I was much more busy. So my time was pressed. I was much more efficient this week. I met with my trainer. I meal prepped. I had food ready to go. I stuck to my business tasks. I did everything I was set out to do because I had less time to sit in here and talk myself out of doing it. We all do it. I do not like to exercise. I like how my body feels when I exercise. So it's that good feeling that you have to hold on to. And when you're not doing something for yourself, it is because somewhere along the way, someone planted the seed that self-care is wrong. Think about that. Think about that and think about, does that apply to you? I love mindset of it. Thoughts, seeds grow into thoughts, grow into behaviors, grow into bad habits. Bye, everyone.